Hello. I am getting life situated here. I got too many cameras and too many monitors and too many buttons, but hopefully we're going to get started. I have some people coming in. So if you all haven't met me before, I am Phylecia Jones. You're going to learn a little bit more about me. And I have decided to do something different on my computer, so I am so completely lost tonight. But this is going to be fun because we're going to talk about speaking gigs. So we have Lahoma. Let me make sure I'm saying your name right. And Doretha. Let me unmute yourself.
Hi, Phylecia. I'm Doretha.
Doretha, hi. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. Where are you located?
I'm located in Waldorf, Maryland, not far from DC.
Okay, cool. I'm out here south of Denver, Colorado.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
So cool.
Thank you.
Huh?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity tonight.
Oh, no problem. It's going to be fun. And Lahoma, let me please let me know if I'm saying your name properly.
Yes, you are.
Okay, cool. All right. So as people come in, but Lahoma, where are you located?
I'm in Florida, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh, cool. I am heading your way in January. Going to be there for 4 months.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to it. So we're RV owners, and so I'll tell you the story. I'll tell it a little bit later, but we have a whole plan about to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Feel free. So right now you all are muted. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I'm going to stop sharing over here. Hopefully I'm not slurring too much. I'm wearing my retainers. So things they didn't tell you after you turned 40 that you would go through puberty again and wear braces, I guess that's just a thing that happens. So so that's been like fun, like wearing braces at 44 now. And it's very interesting. I go through a lot of floss nowadays. Not that you care, and that's too much information for you all. But hopefully we have a little fun because tonight we're going to talk about how to turn unpaid speaking gigs into paid speaking gigs. So 9 times out of 10, I'm assuming that both of you are here because you are already speaking or you are about to start speaking. So, and like I said, I will go through this and I will leave some breaks so you can answer some questions. I will give you my feedback on speaking since it's just the 3 of us here. We can make this really personal. For those of you who are watching inside of the wonderful platform, if you have any other questions, you know how to find me inside of there. Just go ahead and go to Phylecia Jones, or you can drop somewhere on the internet of all the places. I'm in all the places, so you can find me there. So what we're going to talk about tonight is actually, it was called 5 ways to turn an unpaid speaking gig into a paid gig, but we're going to talk about 7 because I'm just extra like that. And I am one of your resident experts inside of the wonderful platform. And I have the title of travel entrepreneurship because I do quite a few different things. And one of the things that I do is I'm the lead researcher and founder of a company called iFind. I actually go out and research and find speaking opportunities for those who want to get on stage to market their business. I've been doing this since, oh gosh, I think we're at our 3-year anniversary. I've been in business for 8 years, but I've also been a speaker. I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. I talk about women in technology. I also talk about speaking, obviously, and I've been on a national television show, Daily Blast Live. I've booked speakers for 4.5 years. I booked speakers for events here in Colorado. And so I have a very unique, I like to think I have a very unique take on being a speaker myself, booking speakers, and then actually researching speaking opportunities. So I think I can answer just about every question that you have when it comes to speaking. And like I said, my name is Phylecia Jones. If you want to follow me, you can find me at Keep Up with Mrs. Jones out on the internet. If you want to go check out iFind You Close, it's ifindyouclose.com, where we talk about speaking opportunities. But tonight, I'm really excited about this because we're going to talk about unpaid speaking gigs. And before we even get started, Doretha and Lahoma, tell me about your experience with speaking. Where are you so that I can give you the best advice possible? So I'll start with you, Doretha. Unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm
problem.
using my mobile tonight, which is unusual. I'm usually
Yeah.
on my laptop. But I am a 65-year young breast cancer survivor, and I've
Mhm.
had the opportunity to speak quite a bit for Roche Pharmaceutical.
Mhm.
However, the jobs were not paid jobs. They were
Okay.
just actually sending me to Singapore, Switzerland with all the perks to be on a panel, but it wasn't being paid.
But it
Uh,
wasn't for you, it was for a company, right?
yeah, it was
All
for a
right.
company.
That's going to be a very different thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have been working for quite a long time, and everyone asks me, why are you sitting behind a desk with all of your experience? And I really think that I'm at that point now in my life that I'm ready to travel. I have a daughter that's an educator and a granddaughter that's leaving in September to attend UCLA.
Mhm.
And now it's my time.
Okay.
And I'm ready. I just need some help getting there, but I've been in write-ups in newspapers, but I'm just not getting paid.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about that, and I'll give you some hints later on, because you're going to have to, there's a couple of other things that you need to do that's going to be beyond what we're going to talk about tonight, but
Okay,
we'll have some room, and if we need to talk offline, we can do that as well. So just pay
great.
attention to this. So this may be like slightly more advanced, but it's still good information for you to kind of put on a post-it note to get you prepared for making money as a speaker.
Thank
Lahoma, where are you as a
Yes.
speaker? Hi.
Well, I actually want to enter that realm. I'm a freelance travel and lifestyle writer.
Okay.
I also write about arts and culture as well. So I've gone to many travel summit, symposium, and I've watched many panelists. And now that I'm in this industry, I want to be someone that people can call upon to speak on, different topics, but I want to be paid, not for free.
Okay, we're going to have a long talk about all of this, because sometimes one thing I've learned about speaking, sometimes none of this is ever what it seems. So we're
Right.
going to talk about that. So I'm going to say we have people who are, both of you are trying to jump more into this world. You've seen it, you've probably experienced it a bit, but it's time for you to jump into it. All right. Thank you for that. That's going to be really helpful as I give you this information. Like I said, with you, Lahoma, as well, this information is probably going to be like step 3 in your journey. It's still good information, but it's still something I want you to pay attention to before you start going out there. Because what happens is that all of us, we say, I want to go out and speak. I only want to get paid. And then we actually get into this world and we realize, like, oh, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So I want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. You'll be prepared so we don't have heartbreak. That's the
Okay.
biggest thing. I don't want you to have heartbreak and, 3 years later, like, what in the world did I just do? And trust me, I did all the things. So I kind of learned the hard way about all of this as well. All right. So just take some notes. I'm going to go through this and I'm going to give you some tips as we go for both of you so that you'll understand like what to really pay attention to when you jump into speaking. So, and this is not going to be on the slides, and I'll get back to it later. So take a note to remind me to get back to it. But the first thing that both of you need to do is, in the big general sense, you need to create your own brand as a speaker. That means your website and your assets and all that kind of stuff. So I want you to start putting that in your brain, is that we got to start making sure that you have a website. And Lahoma, I assume you probably already have a website as a freelance writer and a
Yes,
creator.
I do.
Okay, so we got to make sure that somewhere on that page, there's something that says, I'm a speaker, book me. And that's usually the first thing that everybody kind of messes up with, is like, and they say, well, I want to be a speaker. And it's like, well, does the rest of the world know? And I always tell people your cat and dog cannot book you for speaking gigs. So that's going to be step number one, is making sure people know you. My coach told me years ago, she said, look, if you're wanting to do this for real, you need to wake up every day and ask yourself, who needs to know my name today? And it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Because I'm pretty sure if you're like me, we've been friends with people for years and we kind of really don't know what they do. And I've had friends that said, well, my friend does events. She should have booked me. I was like, she probably doesn't know you're a speaker. So that's going to be the first thing I will say for both of you. Make sure, we could talk about this a little bit later, because like it's definitely not the presentation for tonight, but we got to make sure we set everything up so everybody really knows, and not just going to a LinkedIn profile and saying I'm a speaker, but we gotta annoy the crap out of people so they know, like, oh, okay, Lahoma's a speaker. Got it. Cool. I'll book you. Stop asking. That's what we want to get to at some point. All right. So now let's go ahead and go to these things that I want you to pay attention to before we start getting on stage. And the thing that comes to turning an unpaid speaking gig into a paid speaking gig. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm going to separate out professional speaking from people who are marketing their services. Professional speaking means this is your job. For someone like you, Lahoma, it could be very different. The speaking could be a way to get business as well. So we have to kind of morph between these two different worlds, being a professional speaker, literally a whole brand new career, and then kind of being a hybrid. I call myself a hybrid, meaning when I go out and when I get my paid to speak gigs, I talk about women in technology. My background, I was a computer scientist and engineer for the Navy for 11 and a half years. But when I go out and speak, I speak to market, which is talking about iFind you close. And it does work when it comes to making money, just in very different ways than you may think. So the basics when it comes to unpaid speaking gigs and turning them into paid. One, you need to know how to sell. I have to tell you this, when you jump into this game, a lot of us say we're just speakers. I hate to say it, but we're salespeople at the same time. You as a speaker is a product. You got to sell it. Just because we put speaker behind our title, international speaker, TEDx speaker, it doesn't mean the floodgates will open. Trust me, I sat there and like, oh my gosh, they will come. And like, no, nobody didn't. Only Oprah can roll out of bed and say, I want to speak tomorrow, and people will come and give her gigs. For the rest of us, we got to put in a little bit of work. All right. So you have to know how to sell. You have to know how to negotiate. You are the product, and you got to go out there and start selling the product. The competition is high for speakers. So we got to make sure that we're unique. We have a unique voice, and that people want us. The second thing when it comes to these basics is that you need to know what you want to negotiate. That's the first thing when it comes to like I said, this is level 3 of like, if I had to put steps in of some things, this is probably level 3 of where both of you are, but still, you still need to know what you want to negotiate when it comes to speaking. I think one of the biggest things that happens with all of us is that we get so excited. We never sat down and said like, well, how much do I want to get paid? I was at WITS in May, and one young lady, she's like, well, I always get paid to speak and it's not a big deal. And I was like, nobody pays to speak. Now, granted, I'm in this world and we have two different perspectives. Her getting paid $200 to $500 was good and she loved it. Me getting paid $200 is like, you know what? I need at least $1,000 to pull the Spanx up so I can get on stage. So it's one of those things. You got to know where you are as a speaker, and then you still need to start thinking about what it is that you want to negotiate. And this is what we're going to talk about today outside of getting paid. We do know that you want to get paid, but sometimes depending on the type of events that you're going for, we need to have some other things that we need to negotiate. And then the other thing is have something to sell. This is going to be one of those things that I like to say a lot of us speakers, we dropped the ball on this when we first get started, is that not having something to sell. And I know you're saying, Phylecia, duh, I'm selling me, in a good way. Get on stage, give me my check, let me talk, motivate the masses. Oprah is going to call me next week. It doesn't always work that way. And so what I want you to do is have your bases covered on how you're going to be making money, because just that transaction of me on stage to get paid can go very differently, you know? So we got to make sure we have our bases covered and have something to sell outside of us. And I'm going to tell you what that looks like in a few minutes. Okay. So here's the number one thing when it comes to turning an unpaid gig into a speaking gig. Number one, here's some things that you need to think about: negotiating photos, videos, and referrals. Now, Lahoma and Doretha, you don't have to answer. This is going to be rhetorical, so just write it down and think it in your brain. Do you have the photos for your website? Do you have videos of you on stage? Do you have video testimonials? Do you have referrals of people wanting you to speak? Now, this is not a negative. This is just something I want you to think about, because we all need these things. I need more videos. I need more photos of me on stage, and I can show you my website before we're done. But here's one thing: that if you're running into a gig that doesn't want to pay or doesn't have the budget to pay, this is where we start our list of, well, I need some photos, or I need some videos, or you know what? You run this event, and I saw on LinkedIn that you're friends with Gayle King, who's friends with Oprah. I need that hookup. So this is where we have to start being smart and smarter as speakers. And like I said, I'm a research nerd, so this is just me being like really extra, but it really does help to set yourself up before you go into a gig. And I'm going to make a side note here. Before you say yes to any gig, you go through your list of things that you need, and you have qualifying questions. Never say yes to a gig until you get all of your questions answered. And your questions can be like, who am I talking to? How do you see me in this event? How long am I on stage? How many people are in the audience? What is the audience? What do you want me to talk about, specifically? And it might sound a little strange, but sometimes if somebody is saying, I only want you to talk to 10 people, and it's unpaid, and it's like, that may not be the right move for me. But if it's 10 people, is unpaid, but they're all CEOs of Microsoft, Google, okay, I might swing in there for unpaid, because I might be able to convert more business. So you have to start looking at the bigger picture of what's going on, especially with those qualifying questions. So like I said, side note. So one of the things that you want to have on your list of things to negotiate outside of getting paid, we'll talk about getting paid a little bit later, but make sure we negotiate for a gig, is to get photos and videos and referrals. Now, you might be saying that's not making money, but all this stuff costs money. Hiring photographers, videographers costs money. So if you go to an event, just talk to them and say, hey, I would love these photos, because you need them. You absolutely need them. You can put this in your contract. You can also put, can you refer me, in contracts as well. So that's just something to think about. All right. The number two thing I want you to think about when it comes to turning an unpaid gig into a paid gig: bulk sell digital and or physical items. Now, every speaker that I work with, I always say this: never get on stage unless you have something to sell. And like I said, we've had this conversation about what are we selling. Me, I don't care what it is. It needs to be digital products. It needs to be a book. It could be t-shirts. It could be swag. I want you to be able to have something else to sell, so that whenever you walk into the situation, they say, oh my gosh, Doretha, we love you, but we can't afford to pay for you. And I don't want you to get, like I said, I don't want heartbreak. I don't want hurt feelings. I want you to say, all right, cool. You won't be able to pay me. Guess what? I have a digital course. Maybe you can buy this for everyone. And then once they get into it, I can talk about it. We can say it's a bonus. It makes your event look great, but you also get paid at the same time. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And I'll give you an example of how it has worked for me. So I get asked to speak all of the time for iFind You Close. Me personally, I have no issue taking on unpaid speaking gigs, only because I have something to sell. And what happens when people come and ask me, well, can you come and speak for my group? And they say, well, what, we can't afford to pay you. I will always counter back with, all right, my program is $19 a month. How about you buy the first month for everyone, and I'll come speak, no problem. And a lot of these have been virtual, and I make sure I guarantee that I make some money. It may not be the thousands and thousands of dollars, but I make sure that I make some money, because I know with me and I'm confident that every time I go speak, I always make money. So this is why I want you to have something to sell. It could be a book, it could be a t-shirt, it could be a digital course, it could be a program. Make sure it's something that's not you, not your services. That's a whole different ball game. I want something that can be a little bit more passive. They can buy in, and then boom, everybody's happy. So before I keep going, you can unmute yourselves and let me know if this makes sense. Lahoma, you have any questions, or does it make sense?
No, it's making sense.
Okay.
It is.
If
Yes.
if I could add,
Mhm.
so you're saying the service, it should be something more on the tangible side? Am I
Yeah.
understanding correctly?
Yeah, because now if you are specifically speaking to get people into like your freelance services or like one-on-one services, that is absolutely fine. My thing is just know what you're setting yourself up for. But
Okay.
for like you and for Doretha, especially if you're going to go down the path of motivational speaking, I want you to have something else that doesn't take your time, because like, I mean, freelance writing and
Right.
or coaching, that takes time.
Right.
That sits there and that takes time. And you got folks like, well, I don't know if I want to give you my money right now. It's like, okay, I really don't have time for this. But let's just say if you had a $97 course, a $20 course, or $15 book, it's an
Mhm.
easy sell to someone in a bulk rate.
Okay.
And so that's why I was saying, make sure you have something to sell that is on the passive side, something
Mhm.
you've already done, so that, if I come to you and like, Lahoma, I really want you to come speak, and it's just like, well, we don't have the budget to pay you. And I just want you to go into the extra mode of like, all right, cool. I really love your group. I know I'm going to make some money, but how about you see if you have a budget to buy the book for everyone? And it's just a nice little bonus for the audience. It makes you look like, oh my gosh, she gave us a free book, and it's like, no, it wasn't free. I got paid off of
Yes.
this. So just that. So these are
Okay.
just things I want you to have in the backseat. You don't have to have this right now, but I guarantee you, after 2 years of speaking, you're going to be like, I should have done this.
Mhm.
And even if you are getting paid to speak, sometimes it's just an extra way to make some more money on top of a gig. So just something to think about. So if you ever look at some of your favorite speakers, I don't know if you are a TD Jakes fan, or Les Brown, or Lisa Nichols. If you've ever paid attention to them, or the Tony Robbins, they always have something else to sell. Even
Yes.
they just got paid $50,000. I mean, I saw Darren Hardy, I used to do budgeting for business owners. I know he got paid $35,000 to speak. He came in and sold his digital product for $100. Everybody bought it. I was like, no, he didn't just do that. Like, that is a flex, and didn't talk to anybody. He was not a nice person. Got his money, got his extra money, and then he was out like within 5 minutes of speaking. I'm like, well, dang, all right, cool. And then I've also seen people who don't get paid to speak and will do the same thing and make even more money. So I just want to make sure that you're covering all of your bases, so that you don't say, oh my gosh, they won't pay me, I hate this industry, poo-poo those people. It's like, no. Let's just make sure we get back to negotiating and trying some different things before you say no. These are just like checklists, like, what about this? What about this? And like, no, the Spanx are going to stay hung up. I'm going to stay home. Thank you. Doretha, you have any questions?
No, I think this is very informative. I
Mhm.
actually, my speaking is motivational speaking,
Mhm.
and I have written several books, and I'm working on my next book, which is a guide to journaling. My
Okay.
interest is teaching women the benefits of journaling. So that would actually be my product.
Yeah. And so, like I said, there are always going to be gigs, especially when you're starting. I'm always part of the say yes to everything, because remember, we need people to know who we are. Also, we need to practice, and we need to
Yes.
know who we don't like speaking in front of. I can give you a list of audiences I don't like, and I know audiences that I do like. And so that's where we got to test all of this. And at the same time, it's just like, how about you consider bulk selling my books and everything? My last gig was a couple of weeks ago. It was for a small group. They were like, can you come and speak? And I was like, ooh, in person? Ooh, I don't know about that. And they were like, well, and also at the same time, you know, we negotiated that she purchased 1 year of iFind You clothes for everyone in the group. And I'm like, cool, I'll come speak for that, you know. My 1 hour of just helping you understand what's going on and giving you tips on it, on speaking, great. Now I have people in for a year and maybe they'll stay for another year. So like I said, just make sure we're covering all of the bases. And even if it's just a t-shirt, just have something else to have in your back pocket in case you run into these situations. And it's a group that you really want to talk to, but you got to just, you know, get creative. All right. So number 3, when it comes to these unpaid gigs, one of the ways you turn it into a paid gig is ask to do back of the room sales. Same thing, you need some products to sell. And if you've ever been to a conference, and I know, Lahoma, you've been to tons of those types of conferences where, you know, they were like, oh, my vendor table is in the back of the room. Now,
Yeah.
this is going to be on you. You got to have that charm and that flex and that smile to get people to run to the back and start paying for stuff. So always ask, can I have a table in the back of the room so I can showcase my products? Even if you are doing coaching, like something so that we can get people from this event into your world. So remember, we got to get them from that world into your world. And if anything else, you want to get them on your email list. And if you have not used your email list effectively to sell, that's definitely something I would say put on your little post-it note to think about later. A lot of the things that I've done when I've gotten people onto my email list, I am able to continue the selling process through email, and it works out very well. So you want to make sure you ask for a back of the room sales. You know, take a friend with you, your mom, cousin, or something that can man the table, that will sell your products. That's back there. So that's another way, especially if you got something that people really want. It definitely works for coaches as well, to have a back of the room sales. Sometimes you can negotiate all these things at the same time, but I want to make sure that you're having everything set up, and you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll find people that'll say, well, no, we won't let you have a vendor table. And it was like, so you want me to come speak for free? You won't even let me sell anything. So like, what am I getting out of this? Like, is Oprah in the room? If Oprah's not there, then like, I don't know what's happening. All right. So back of the room sales. I like Oprah. So if you haven't figured that out, I can mix it up with Michelle. If Michelle is there, I'll buy whatever she has. Number 4, negotiate all or a portion of your travel expenses. And so this is just another thing on the list of, you know, like, what is it that you really want out of a gig? And like, everything goes back to that beginning. What is it that you want to negotiate, so that you're not caught off guard? And I think what happens when we get like, oh, I want you to come speak. Oh, yes. And then next thing, like, oh, I didn't know about that. So before we say yes, these are all the things of like, here's the things I would like. I had a gig. I got asked to come speak in London. It wasn't paid, but I was going to London for my walkabout. So we're in the travel space. It doesn't take much to get me on an airplane. And it was like, oh, I can be an international speaker while going for my walkabout in London for my birthday. Cool. And so what happened, they wanted me to come speak. And I was like, okay, but you don't want to pay for anything. So let's start negotiating. And it was like, can you pay for my hotel and my airplane ticket? And they were like, cool. I was like, fine, that's good enough for me to at least get me over there, because plane tickets cost a lot of money. So that can be something that you can work out as well, is to negotiate all or portion of your travel expenses. Definitely go after the most expensive thing, if that can work for you as well. And at the same time, if you're going to a place that you really love, start asking for a few more things. Like if you're going to speak at a museum or something, ask for a private tour. Like I said, it might sound weird, but get creative. I mean, all they could do is say no. And it was like, oh, can you give me tickets to Beyonce concert? And they were like, I actually have some. Cool, let's do that. You got to start prying and knowing people to ask for all these things. But my thing is, life is short. Just start asking. When I was booking speakers for, it was a women's group, and we booked monthly speakers. I did that for 4.5 years here in Denver. One thing that was so surprising out of the 4 years that I was booking speakers. Now, technically, we didn't pay anyone, but at the same time, no one ever asked. Not one person ever asked to be paid. And within the last year that I was doing this job, somebody said, well, can you pay for my hotel and plane ticket? And I'm like, huh, nobody's ever asked. Let me throw it back to the committee. And everybody said, sure. And I was like, huh, and you just never asked. And it's so weird because it's like in 4 years, I did it for 2 groups. No one had ever asked to be paid to speak.
Wow.
And it's not like, I mean, you know, my thing is, it just depends on if I really like you as a speaker. Now, if you're one of my speakers and I chose you to come speak, I will probably go to bat for you to like, all right, we're going to get you some money. And because if I have a group of 50 women who are business women, all I have to do is ask for like, hey, can everybody chip in for $25 to pay? And everybody's like, cool. And that's what we did. But now, if I didn't like you as a speaker, I wasn't going to work that hard for you. But like I'm saying, just ask. You'd be surprised. Just ask. Especially for some groups, conferences are going to be a little different, and when it comes to being paid, and I'll tell you why. But sometimes just ask. You never know. People will do things for you. I mean, they may come pick you up, take you out to eat. You know, just ask for whatever that you want. The 5th thing is negotiate for a sponsor. And I kind of alluded to this. Sometimes it really depends on the type of events that you're speaking for. So if you're going to a big conference, you're kind of bound by what that conference is doing. If you're going for smaller groups, like women's groups that meet every month, or a private group or a private coaching clients event, things can get a little bit different when you're talking directly to them. So conferences are a little bit different. If you want to get on stage for conferences, remember their goal is butts and seats. They're trying to make money off of this conference. Usually they get a celebrity speaker to be the main keynote. If you're brand new into your world of speaking or to your world of expertise, you may not be there yet where they would have you on the main stage. The other way to check this out is to go look at all the conferences that you go to, especially if you want to do conferences. Look at who they have been booking. If you go down their conference list and you see Barbara Corcoran, Michelle Obama, Jada Pinkett, and then it's like, you may need to give yourself a few more years so that you can get up into their status. But if we just happen to see somebody that they had a motivational speaker a year ago, not a celebrity, but they talked about, you know, resilience. Now, all of a sudden it's like, this is very different. And when it comes to corporate gigs, that's a whole different wild ball game. That's where you just got to schmooze. And because most corporate gigs don't advertise who they're hiring. So you just have to make sure you get in really good with those people who are hiring for those types of gigs. So with this one, what I wanted to say was negotiate for a sponsor. A sponsor means, say, Lahoma, you went to an event and they really want you to come speak, and you're just like, well, you know, you guys don't have a budget. Do you have a sponsor? Can someone in your group sponsor me to come speak? And by this, and by the way, can they buy the book for everyone? So it's kind of back to having those products, but also asking for a sponsor. Like, is there like, hey, I saw that Richard Branson is part of your group. Like, yo, you can't hit him up for like $100? You know, you don't have to do it that way, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, you look at the group. Now, if it's the local YMCA and it's 5-year-olds, maybe a little hard for that. But if it's like a women empowerment group and you see that these people are business women and they're doing all these things, all you have to do is throw it back to the event host and say, hey, you wanted me, you called me, you slid into my DMs, you wanted me to come speak, but you don't have a budget. I really love you all. Do you have someone in your group that would be willing to be a sponsor for either my books or for me or for any of the things out there? So this is where it's going to take you just kind of, you know, putting on the big girl ovaries and just starting asking of what can be done. And you just do it in a way of like, hey, I want to be there. You want me there. Let's make sure this is working out for both of us, because I have a book calendar, and you got to make yourself sound like you're busy too. I have a book calendar and I really want to be there. So let's see what we can do to make this work. So that's the sponsor. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you haven't figured this out at this point, it's really all about, let's get creative and see what we can ask for. All right.
And could I add something?
Yeah.
It to your point, for number 4, where you said negotiate all or a portion of the travel expenses. it's, as I've grown in my travel writing, because I started my own company 3 years ago,
Mhm.
There She Goes Global. And initially, destinations, they didn't offer to pay for everything. So I was paying part of my travel, but I was growing my portfolio.
Yeah.
So now I'm at the point where the destination covers everything. And the last destination I went to was St. Louis. I came back last week. Someone told me, you know what, you should go to a baseball game. That's a baseball town. So
It
I
is.
reached out to the VP and I was like, hey, I'd like to check out a baseball game. They got me 6 tickets, like in row 20 for the Cardinals game, just like that.
Are the Cardinals any good this
Good.
year?
So what,
Are the
yeah,
Cardinals any
it
good?
was a good game.
But yeah, you just start
Honestly, I
asking.
don't know, but it was a good game.
Yeah.
You got to ask. So I love, to your point, ask. You never know.
Yeah.
Ask.
And probably what you're starting to see is that this world isn't completely different than what you were doing as a freelancer going out to brands. It's different. It's the same, but slightly different. You just have to approach it differently, especially when it comes to speaking. But you got to start asking, and then you got to set your boundaries too. But also realize that if you're brand new, you may not be able to go into full diva mode. You may have to leave
Right.
Mariah at home for a bit and just like, all right, we're gonna work our way up to this point. So that eventually in a year and a half, like, okay, I'm gonna have people coming to me.
Right.
The number 6 thing, and this is something, this actually may be something, it depends on what you're doing, depends on what stages you're on, but ask about selling from the stage. Now, I will caveat this in that selling from the stage is a skill. If you have it, and if you are good at it, you can make way more money than getting paid to be a speaker. And usually you've seen these sales seminars. These are typically like the Lisa Nichols and stuff like that, where Tony Robbins, where they may have a coaching program or something like that. If you are good at selling from the stage, you could make a lot of money. So that's why we have to kind of practice all of these angles. If you have a program that's coming up, if you have a digital course, I haven't, in the last few years, I have not done selling from the stage, not blatant selling from the stage, but when I did do selling from the stage, it always worked, always. I even pre-sold selling from the stage. So this is just something, if the event is the type of event that would allow for this, you should ask. You should ask, like, hey, can I make an offer from the stage? And you'll say it things like this, can I make an offer from the stage? And typically they'll want to know how much is the offer. If it's thousands of dollars, they may not let you do it. If it's $20, somewhere under $97, they may not have an issue, but you can always ask. Even sometimes when you're getting paid to speak, you want to ask if you can make an offer, but know your room, know who you're talking to. Not every event is going to be open to that kind of thing, but these are kind of cool. Usually they are seminars. So if you ever have a friend who runs retreats and they like to do their own live events, these are perfect for those types of things of, running to the back of the room. And then, because you made a very clear offer from the stage. And then the last one we're going to talk about, it's the same thing with selling from the stage. And so this is going to be, so we're going to have to, if you have not experienced this, so if you go to a sales seminar, and usually they'll have a whole bunch of speakers coming in. Everybody's going to offer something, $97 for my book or my course or whatever. But the last speaker of the day or of the event is the coach, the person who's going to make that $15,000, $20,000 offer. Have you all been to those types of events before?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So with those types of events, if you ever find yourself getting invited to go speak at an event like this, and I call them sales seminars or summits, that's usually what they call them. What you can do to not get involved in all of the selling from the stage and worrying about vendor tables and stuff, you approach the person who's running the event and say, hey, can you include my product with your big ticket item? That way I can just tell people to buy your thing and I'll get paid when they pay for you. Because usually the person who's running that big event, they know how to close. They know how to close from the stage. So all you have to do is say, can you include my thing in yours, raise the price of your coaching program or whatever you're selling. And then once they get all their 25 people in, they just cut you a check. And now you're just working inside of their program, or whatever it is that you offer to them is inside of their program. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I've done that before, and it is kind of one of those, ooh, that's an easy way to make some money without me having to like stress about selling from the stage. And I've done that a few times, and it actually is pretty cool when you're kind of like, hey, instead of all of us selling and competing with each other, why don't you just roll up everybody's thing into your thing? You just write us a check, and so now we're kind of like a collective encouraging people like, hey, if you sign up for this, you'll get me at the same time. And those have been kind of fun with trying to figure out how to make money. So those are the 7 things that I wanted to tell you about. And we're going to have some Q&A in like a moment. But the biggest thing is you need to be prepared no matter what it is. If it's an unpaid gig, paid gig, sometimes you don't know. Just because you didn't get paid doesn't mean somebody else did, sorry. It doesn't mean somebody else didn't get paid. I've been in events before where I was the only one who negotiated for travel arrangements, and people are like, well, they didn't pay me. And it's like, oh, you didn't ask? Oops. I'm going to sit here and be real quiet now. So make sure you are prepared. You need to know what you need, and you need to know what you want. If you're just starting out, and I always say we're still newbies for a while in this game. What you need, you go back and look at the inventory of what's going on in your business, your speaking business. Do we have a speaker page? Do we have photos of us on stage? Do we have photos of us with a microphone in our hand? Do we have photos of us in front of an audience? Do we have videos? Do we have a speaker reel? Do we have video testimonials? These are all the things you need for you to jump off as a speaker. Because we need to be very clear. We need other people to help sell you. So you need to make a list of everything you need so that we can show credibility. If you need more gigs, those are things that you need. That's the other thing that you can do when you're negotiating for a gig. Just say, hey, if you really like me, can you give me an introduction to the next person who runs an event? That works as well. I landed a national TV spot just from doing that. So you gotta have your list of everything you need, and then know what you want. Like if you know you want to get paid, but you already see the signs that these people do not have a budget. All right, let's go into our bag of tricks and just see what we can make work for this event so that I can have a good time. People can get caught up in my world. Even if they bought a $20 book, they're in your world because they're on your email list. And then the other thing is practice negotiating. I don't do hardcore negotiating. I'm not a car salesperson. I think a little bit more because I've gotten older in the pandemic. My patience is very thin. So it's just like, Phylecia, we want you to come speak. All right, well, can I sell? No. Can I do this? No. Yeah, okay, I'm cool. I'm gonna go get on my boat now. But you gotta know what it is that you want, and you gotta know your boundaries and what you're willing to do for it. And then before you say yes to anything, even if it's paid, unpaid, I don't care what it is, have those qualifying questions, ask everything, negotiate before saying yes. This is a thing I've noticed with some people who've been on some of the wonderful events, other folks in my program. They were like, well, I said yes to this event, but I want to get paid now. Like, you already said yes, sorry. You can't go backwards. I mean, you can try, but also remember that this world of speaking is kind of tiny. If you've chosen your industry that you want to be in front of, there ain't that many speaker coordinators. And I remember all the events that the women's groups in my town, we knew each other. So it took, sliding into a DM, Phylecia, we saw that Lahoma was speaking at your event, and either I'd be like, oh my gosh, she's amazing, book her, or I'd be like, ooh, maybe not this time, So just remember, all divaness is told to somebody else. And don't do divaness on the Twitter, because I follow all the people who are interested in speaking for the groups that I had. And I saw things, and that did influence if I selected you to speak or not. So just kind of remember that you're out, just like with social media, does it represent how you want to be portrayed? And then also negotiate before you say yes, ask questions before you say yes, make sure the event is a good fit for you before you say yes. And the other thing that you can do now, which is amazing, you can negotiate to be virtual. If you do not want to put on the Spanx, wear high heels and go, be coughed on, you can negotiate for some virtual gigs. It's different, very, very different than speaking in person, but it could help you as well. All right, so that's all I have. So we can have a chit chat now. If y'all got more questions. I know you do. Doretha got a whole notebook full of things going on. So I know you got questions.
Actually, you have really explained this so very well.
Thank you.
This is something I've been working on for quite some time. I still work in an office, and I'm gearing up to just go full force with speaking. I have had a few paid speaking opportunities, but something that you really, that resonated with me that I don't have and I need to work on is, number one, the website. I have a speaker's bio, and I have a picture of me speaking with a mic at West Virginia University.
Okay.
And I need references. So this is so very helpful. I've been doing it just to be doing it for fun, but now
you wanna make it serious now.
Yeah, I want to make it really serious. And as I said, having been able to speak in Singapore and Switzerland, all of that was great. But again, it wasn't paid. It was being put up in very nice hotels and flights and all, which was great, which also has helped me with a portfolio. But I'm definitely going to reach out to you to get more information and hopefully to become a speaker for you. But I am a breast cancer survivor, and that's a lot of what I speak about is working with women just to share pointers about breast cancer and journaling.
Okay. So
10.
Oh, sorry. So when it comes to the website, I'll show you mine and let me know if you can see it. I think you can see this. I have multiple screens going up. And you can go look at it later. This is just my personal website for speaking. It's PhyleciaJones.com. And what I want you, and Lahoma, do you have a speaker page on your website?
I do not.
Okay. All right. So here's some things, like I said, this is going to be like step one for both of you. Is we want to make sure we put our presence out there so people know, like, for real, we're speaking, because when you're a pitching, they need to come back to something. Yes, we love referrals. We love all of that. Work those as much as you can. I am not ashamed to call in a favor to get on somebody's stage, because I've done a lot of favors for people. But at the end of the day, when it comes to pitching, you need your website. Hands down, you need your website. So a couple of things that I want to see from both of you, because I will be stalking you now. I want to see a photo of you on stage with a microphone. I want it to be very clear, your name, what is it that you do, or what is your tagline? Why? Remember, put in your head, step into the shoes of a speaker coordinator. Why should I book you? I got 400,000 people that call themselves speakers. Why you, Lahoma? Why you, Doretha? And then, I got all these people sending me all these beautiful websites, but, we need to go ahead and move it up a notch. So I want to see photos. These are just things I want you to collect. Photos of you on stage, logos, and you can lean on the logos of the work you have done. Doretha, you'll have to see, because you were doing this for your job, so you kind of have to maneuver carefully. But on your own, if you've done TEDx events, I want to see videos. I want you to just go and collect them. And then remember, this particular page is for the people who will book you, not the people who are going to listen to you speak, but for the people who will book you. Those are your potential clients. The person who's booking you is your client, and people who have stages are your prospects. So this page is just to sell them on you. But these are some of the credibility snaps that I want to see. I want to see photos of you on stage. I want to see videos. I want to see logos, short bio. So here are all my little logos, more photos, and then testimonials. That's going to be a big one. I want to see testimonials of you as a speaker, preferably from somebody with a title. And when I say title, I want somebody who is CEO or something like that, or speaker coordinator, or event hosts, something like that. I want to see more of those, because for me, as somebody who's booking a speaker, I just need to know, like, if you're just good to work with. And if I know the person, I'm just going to call them up and like, hey, how were they? And they're like, oh, they were okay. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll move on. So we want as many testimonials as possible. These are just all credibility markers. If you can get video testimonials, even better. And then be very clear on who you talk to, what you talk about. And when I say who, I want you to niche that thing down so much it hurts you to even say it out loud. But you need to niche it down, but also not go, you want to niche down, but kind of be big at the same time. Choose an industry. So I want you to choose an industry who you want to go after. The industry is going to be one that you know how to talk to these people, and you know where to find them. If you only talk to women who have 2 left toes and they're struggling, the thing I always tell people, like, well, where's a room full of these folks? Because usually people don't want to say they're struggling to everybody. So you got to either find a room of all these people with 2 left toes and who are struggling and who are between the ages of 40 and 50. Or you got to go into an industry. For me, is women in tech. I know where I can find women in tech. And I know also in that room, there are women who are struggling. There are women who want to travel. There are women who want to get a new job, even though if a company hires me, I can't tell them go get a new job. They don't like that. So be very clear as to who you talk to, what you talk about. And if you're going for motivational, you might want to start with an industry first, an industry that you know and that we can easily find, and start making connections. And then make sure you have how to book you. How many websites I go to and they're like, I don't know how to book you. I don't even see your name on your website. Please put your name on your website, please. And then the other thing that you can do just to show credibility is you could start listing some of your engagements. I don't do this as much for the paid gigs, but when I was definitely starting off, it was just a way to show that, hey, I have been speaking. I'm not a newbie. I've written some things. I've been on stages and I've been on television. So you can have confidence in me that I'm not going to come screw your event up. So we want to start listing some of those things on your website. But the biggest thing is testimonials, written ones. All of my website is just all written. And then of course I have my video testimonials are just on YouTube, and they're just connected to this website. So I just want you to have all those bits and pieces, because remember, the thing that you have to ask yourself is, why me? Why should they book me? And why should they have me on stage? So you got to start asking yourself all these things. And then if you are trying to get paid $10,000 and $15,000, like, why? Look at your website, look at everything. Like, am I a $15,000 speaker? Does it look like I should be paid $15,000 for speaking? And I do this exercise with my husband when I was going out networking a lot. I was like, how do I look? Do I look like you should give me $100? And sometimes he said, well, you look like I'll give you 20. I'm like, ooh, I need to go change. So remember, it's all about, I hate to say it, but it's all about looks. So it is all about looks.
Yes.
All right. Questions.
I have a question.
Yes,
I'm just receiving everything that you're saying.
Mhm. Hopefully I'm not overwhelming.
No, but, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to take up too much time from Doretha. Maybe we could do an
go ahead.
offline. Well,
Go ahead. Doretha's learning at the same time.
Please go for it.
Well, for myself, and what you said about having the photos and videos, I understand and I agree with that. But for myself as a writer, I had a previous life where I worked in local politics. I'm no longer in local politics. So the photos and videos that I have are completely from that world, are completely different from the new world I'm trying to create for myself. With my brand, There She Goes Global.
Okay.
If that's making sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You don't want to misrepresent yourself. I get it.
Right. So while you were saying that, okay, I'm thinking, how can I do that? Because I'm not really.
Oh, did we lose you? Uh-oh.
Ooh.
I'm looking at Lahoma's website now. So hopefully, Lahoma, you can hear me. If not, Doretha, I think I can still hear you. So
Okay.
what you want to do is, if you have branding photos, you can use your branding photos for now, but remember the whole goal is to replace. So the more gigs that you get, you just start replacing photos.
Okay.
If you have one or two, for like Lahoma was saying, she has photos from her being in politics. So the way I would look at it is, and I can tell her when she comes back, is she already has photos of her in front of an audience. It may be from politics, and if as long as it matches the brand, you can use that one photo until you get another photo. And this is where we have to, and this is why I try to tell people with the unpaid gigs, don't shut them down, because sometimes these unpaid gigs are what we need to get those things that we need. So we want to get those
Yes.
photos, but if you already have them and if you've already been doing this, then yeah, we need to go to level 10. But in that beginning, when we're trying to get these testimonials, and this is where I always tell people, jog your memory, go back to every last gig that you've ever had and just get testimonials. Even if it was from 5 years ago, because we need all of those things. And even with Lahoma, what I would just say, go back to that past life, because as a politician, you had to speak in front of people.
Yes, that's true.
So you just need to get credibility. We need to make sure people know that you can express yourself, and that you can get on stage and move an audience. That's really what we're going for. And we need credibility. And the goal is, you're not doing testimonials a one-time thing. You're going to constantly always give
Okay.
testimonials. So like what I would ask of you, like, hey, Doretha, after doing this, can you go to LinkedIn and leave me a testimonial? This is where you have to have everything set up so that you can get the testimonials that you need to leave a really good impression. So
Perfect.
let me let her back in.
You have sparked my interest so much, because I've done so much of this, as I said, in newspaper articles, and I do have some testimonies from a few people from Roche Pharmaceutical. Now, that was not my job. They just happened, a PR person found out about me, and Roche invited me to speak.
So don't worry about it being your job. Just remember, we got a testimonial and they saw you on stage. That's all we're worried about.
Okay. So yeah. I have a few of those, but I'm really going to reach out to you. Okay. You have really sparked my interest.
I'm back.
Good.
We got you, Lahoma. I'm gonna answer your question again. So hold on.
Okay.
So that was it for me. I'm just very interested. And now that I have a list of things that I need to have, like, for example, logos and maybe copies of the books that I've written.
Yes, that needs to be on your website. We need all the things.
Okay.
Because we got to use all the things. Like, trust me, the world of speaking is fun, it's addictive, and it will give your ego a huge boost. And this is where we have to balance the ego, because you're going to have to make some sacrifices along the way. But sometimes, even when we're doing all these free gigs, you get so caught up with, I just want to be on stage. I want to be in front of people. And what I don't want you to do is kind of wake up like 2 years after me, like I did, like, okay, that was fun, but yeah, because my husband would be like, okay, so you spent some money and you went to speak, and he was like, did you make any money today? Like, but I made connections. He was like, connections don't pay bills, sweetie. I'm like, oh, I hate you, So that's why I want you to, like, at least for me, I like to see speakers that have kind of thought this through, and not just like, I just want to get on stage, because it is a business, it is competitive. In that very beginning, you're going to get gigs, even if they're unpaid. You're going to get them. They're going to be fun. You're going to get addicted. And then we have to get into, like, okay, we need to get creative about this, because I can go to all these conferences for days and days and days, but if I'm not making additional money, we need to figure out how to make this work.
Okay.
And Lahoma, what I was saying about your photos and stuff, the goal is to use some of the photos that you have, use your branding photos, but the goal is to always replace. So even if we are doing unpaid gigs, remember, we still need these gigs to get the photos and the videos so that we can keep constantly update our website. So if you do have a photo from you back being in your politician days, remember, you were a speaker, you know, or at least all the politicians I see, they talk a lot. You were a speaker, so you should be able to get some testimonials of you being transformative. And that's really what we're going for. The goal of you on stage is to take an audience from A to B. What is the transformation? And if we can get testimonials of that transformation, that's all we need. And if only you can get 2 or 3, I mean, get your parents, get your cousins to give you one. That's good until we start getting all these other ones. And what we can't really get into is that this is a whole system. You know, as soon as we get off stage, we fire off these emails, we get the testimonials, we get the video. So it's a whole system out there. And I'm looking at your page right now. So the other thing is, we definitely need, because you have media, because you definitely know that world. We just need a page that says you're a speaker, because right now, in your world, people may know you are a speaker, but the rest of the world needs to know that you're a speaker and that you are ready to be hired. So that's the thing with your website, because when you are pitching for gigs, it's like, I'm going to send you this link and you're going to see everything about me, testimonials, videos, and why I am the best person to be on your stage, because you need me. And then the other thing is, we got to choose our industry. That's going to be the biggest one. So I'm going to ask, I know we're about to get over time. Hopefully, if you're okay, I'll just ask this. If you got to go, just let me know. But Lahoma, like, when it comes to speaking, who is the industry? Who are you trying to get in front of?
Say definitely women. And one of the things I'd like to share is how entering the travel industry truly changed my life, and really travel and travel writing actually helped save my life.
Okay, but who's the industry? Who would we go to with this talk? And I'm gonna pick on you for like 5 minutes.
Okay.
But who sound like an owl? Who needs to hear this?
Women from all industries.
Okay, let's narrow that down.
Probably maybe the 25 to 65
That's a large group.
age range.
Okay, so what's happening right now is, you're telling me you want to speak in front of women. So what I do is I research gigs. And so what would happen if we were to start working together? I'm going to keep asking, like, okay, there's a lot of women in this world. For me, I need to narrow it down so I can put you in the right room. Like, is it travel industry people? And the trick with travel industry is that sometimes talking to your peers is not where you want to go to get paid. Talking to your peers just helps you get credibility and notoriety, but you may need to go be a unicorn somewhere else. So we're talking about travel writing. So we may need to change the pitch a little bit. So we're going to talk about maybe the resilience and how to reframe your life. And now you're going to tell the story of how travel writing helped you literally change your life, find happiness, be resilient. So now we may take that to women in tech. So that's where we have to kind of figure out, like, what rooms do we want to be in front of? Because I always say this, like, if you talk to everybody, you get booked by nobody. And I know it's really harsh, but when you're coming to me and I talk to everybody, it's like, okay, but how does it help my audience? Like, I don't get it. You know, my audiences that I was booking gigs for, they were business women. And so I'm going to be like, so how does this relate to making money in business? Like, how is that going to relate? And it has nothing to do with changing how you talk. We just have to reframe it. So my genius zone is in pitching. I try to reframe everything. So my goal is to get you on that stage. That's it. The rest is on you. Like, don't mess up. But the goal is to reframe, like, remember, you want to get out there and get paid. You want to get paid a lot of money, but we got to figure out, like, what is this going to do for me? How is this going to help my employees? How is this going to help my audience outside of my peers? Because the thing with your peers, they're going to nod like, yes, travel writing. Yes. But we're not going to pay you for that. That's great. We love your story. And I was like that too. So I started off in business as a money coach. FinCon was my place, Financial Bloggers Conference. And what got me with FinCon, because I wanted to get on stage there, and they were like, well, we don't want to hear about money. And I was like, makes sense. I'm in a room full of money people. What can I offer new other than how to make $1 million in 5 minutes? You know, nothing. I'm talking about budgeting. So this is how I ended up talking about speaking, because it was like, here's how to speak and market your business to make money. So you have to kind of look at it from all these different angles of like, what is it that you talk about? How will it transform? And how will it transform the audience? How will it make me have a better life? How will it make me make money? How will it help my employees make me more money? And I know it sounds really shallow, but that's kind of how we get to like, how do I do this so I can get the best out of people? So I would say for you, Lahoma, it's like really play around with some of these industries. And yes, what you do, what you talk about can go for a lot of industries, but one, we need to find an industry that you like, you know? If you like shoes, there's shoe industries, there's headband industries. I mean, we know there's travel industries. There are industries for people who have trampolines and they have conferences. There's bowling conferences. There's all these things. And so that's where we got to get creative of like, how will my talk help these people? And how can I profit from it? And the thing is to become the unicorn in that room. The reason I got into like WITS and stuff is because I was the unicorn. I was the only person at WITS that talked in Women in Travel Summit that talked about budgeting. Everybody else talked about travel and they were like, ooh, we want you. Come back, come back, come back. You know, I'm like, okay, cool. You know,
I totally understand what you're saying. And you know what? I think I'm probably leaning more toward travel because that's what I'm currently doing. But as you speak to that, I'm thinking of all the government expos and summits and things that I've went to where me talking about travel, I would be the unicorn in the room.
Yes, yes. That's how you got to start thinking a little bit outside the box, you know, of, you know, how will we get this message across to people? Like me talking about speaking at the National Speakers Association. I mean, unless I have some like little trick on how to get more gigs or make more money, it's not, I'm just talking to my peers. I'll get the credibility, I get the photos, I get the testimonials, I get all that stuff, I get the connections, but I need to go drop myself into somewhere else outside of motivational speaking. But figure out some of these industries, and you're right, all these expos, all the other expos that you've gone to that may need somebody different. And I had a little light argument with a friend. She does personality type things. And, you know, I'm from the world of tech. I was like, you should go talk at tech events. Ooh, I don't talk tech. I don't know anything about computers. I'm like, tech people are people too. They all got problems. Trust me. I was sitting up there with a lot of money and problems. And what was so interesting is that she got booked and she was so very different than everybody. She had 200 people in her session. So, and I was like, I told you, you got to go where you're just like the weirdo in the room. I like being the weirdo. Same thing happened to me for a TEDx event. I was going to audition, eventually became a speaker. Whole long story. I had like a 1 week to prep. But I was going to audition, and I was the only Black person in the room, which was fascinating because I kept asking, like, you know, I walked up to somebody, it's like, hey, do you know where the restroom is? Oh, you're Phylecia. And it happened 3 times. I was like, okay, I'm getting something here. And then the other thing was, you know, because TEDx events, a whole different story, is run by, has a person in charge. So the TEDx event kind of leans toward whatever they like. This one was run by a theater person, and all the other speakers were theater people. So they were like jugglers and artists and I was like, oh, I'm back in like 12th grade theater class all of a sudden. And so when they were asking me like, okay, Phylecia, what's your background? I was like, oh, I was a scientist and an engineer for the Navy. And I talk about money. They're like, ooh, you're so smart. And so it was like, I was just so different. So I got the gig. I know it because it was like, yep, I'm with my people. I know my people as soon as I see them. so those are just some of the things, just kind of finding an industry, standing out, be a unicorn so that you can always get the referrals, you can always get booked, and then people just fall in love with you. Hopefully that helped. I know we went over time, but hopefully that helped a little bit.
No, very helpful.
No, it did help. Very,
Okay, cool.
very helpful.
All right. So I will say this, if any of you want to have further conversation, just write down my phone number and text me. That's
okay.
We got all kinds of things. It's like we got all this technology. It's like, just text me. Just text me. We'll put something on the calendar. So my number is 619-518-9538.
I didn't have a pen in my hand. Sorry, I'll write
That's
it.
okay. That's good. That's good. You can put it in your phone and text me right now.
619
518
518.
9538.
Perfect.
You could text me. I am on WhatsApp, and I was in Lahoma. You use WhatsApp.
Yes.
If we can WhatsApp this too, I love WhatsApp. So you can find me on social media, but just text me if you want to have a further conversation on all these different things. But yeah, these are just some things to help you kind of set up everything. And I just want you to be a little bit more prepared than some of the other people out there.
This
Thank you
has
so
been
much.
like wonderful,
Yes.
Phylecia.
Yeah. So especially all those people are
Yes.
like, oh, I didn't get paid. It's like, okay, I got something out of this outside of a t-shirt.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
this was absolutely wonderful, Phylecia. I've learned so much from you than paying hundreds of dollars for coaches. In our 1 hour time, you have actually shared
thank
so
you.
much. And
I
I'm
need that testimonial.
Oh, I will. I love writing and doing reviews. I love that.
I am going to ask
So
you for
I'm
that.
definitely going to text you and get on your calendar if possible, because I've done so much and I'm ready. I'm honestly ready. And well, not all the way there, but the pointers with the website. But I do have one question. When
Yes,
we
ma'am.
talked about choosing an industry,
Mhm.
I am a little torn, because here are 3 things of my interest. I loved speaking with women to talk about overcoming adversities.
Okay.
As a breast cancer survivor, learning how to just change your life and letting go of people and things, because you have a brand new life now. And I love talking to women about that. And also sharing how journaling has helped me so much. Instead of paying money to go to a therapist, which it's okay to do that, I've been journaling for over 30 years, and I have been able to go back and find patterns of other people and patterns of myself, and it has helped me. So my new book is titled Dee's Beginner's Guide to Journaling. And I want to sell it as an ebook on Amazon, and it has homework, assignments in the book. So I'd love to talk with you more about this.
And I'll give you this quickly as far as the industry. So what you're really talking about is resilience, and to some degree, I mean, I will lump both of you the same for right now, with just a quick idea of what you talk about. It's resilience, how to change your life. Those are topics that can be led into leadership talks. They can be wellness talks. Because remember, you have to fit yourself into what they're looking for. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for wellness. They're looking for communication. And what you talk about can easily fit under there. So when we're talking about industry, so we already know who our avatar, our niche, we already know the women we want to work with, but we need to find them in a room, and we need to help them either be better in their career, better in their business, better in their life. So as a default for both of you, women empowerment conferences, hands down, that's a default. That's easy. We're women, or, if you identify as a woman, we're women. Those are easy defaults. But when we want to get outside of that, we have to get a little bit more creative of like, all right, the industries that I like. I like going to travel conferences and talking about money. One, because I was one of the few people that was doing it and I loved it, and plus they have good parties, and I get to go do some travel stuff. Completely different than what I do in my normal thing. So this is like fun for me. Also marketing conferences. Marketing people are like the theater kids to me. They're weird. I like going to see them do their little thing, but it works for me. So those are marketing conferences. And then my other industry is just women in tech. So it's tech, but it's specifically women in tech, women in STEM, Black women in STEM. So I know I can go easily find conferences like that. So that's why I would say industry. Just make a list of industries that you were in. And like Lahoma was saying, she went to tons of government expos, and I see those all the time. That could be like an easy in for getting on those stages. But look at the worlds that you came from, look at the worlds that you're currently in, maybe with your peers, and look at the ones that are just fun, like straight up fun. Look at your hobbies. Like, I mean, like, do you drink wine? There are wine conferences all over the world. There are wine business owners. There are wine business owners who are struggling and who need to kind of get off of the edge and figure out a way, it's journaling or if it's travel writing or something like that. Shoe conferences, hair conferences, eyelash conferences. I know it sounds weird. Cookie conferences. There are conferences for people who love planners. I've been doing this for 3 years. My little quick stat for you, there are over 1.9 million events in the United States happening every year. That's a little over 5,000 events every day. So if you ever come back to me and say, Phylecia, there aren't any gigs, I'm going to cry foul and call your BS, because like, I don't even see all of them, and I know that they're there, and I've seen some weird stuff. Okay. So that's why I say sometimes let's figure out an industry, put the women or the people you like to work with in that room. It's easier for me, it's easier for you. So now you can kind of promote yourself. You know, you can go and like, you know what, I talk about resilience to women in real estate. That's it. And so now everybody knows easy. I'm like, okay, cool, I can book you, versus I just talk about life. Like, okay, I don't understand that, you know, that type of thing. But I think this is just going to be a little bit of homework, because over the next year and a half, we just got to find those stages for you. That's all. And trust me, there's plenty of them. And if you need some in Europe, there's like 1.4 million events happening every year in the UK. I haven't done South America yet because I haven't done the numbers, but I can find you some numbers and we can find you some events. And if you ever feel like you want to pay a coach $25,000, talk to me first, because I want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. And if you ever want to just drop that amount of money, call me. We're going to do a round the world trip, and I have friends in all these places, and I will make an event for you. We will get you on stage.
Love it. Thank you so very much. This was so wonderful. Time well spent tonight. Thank you.
Yes,
it's my husband's turn to make dinner, so I'm going to go eat dinner. So thank you so very much.
Thank
Text
you.
me if you want to keep talking. But I appreciate you being here, and thank you so very much. I'm glad that you learned some things. For everybody else in the wonderful world, I have to go back. If you're watching this later, thank you for being here. If you have any questions, just go ahead and slide into my DMs inside of the wonderful platform, or you can find me at Keep Up with Mrs. Jones on the Instagram. Don't find me on TikTok. My TikTok is sad, but you can find me on all the worlds out there. So if you have any other questions, let me know. And for those of you who are in Wonderful and you're not a member yet, think about joining. It's a fun community. And I didn't tell you all, but I'm about to sell my house. We're going full-time in an RV because we just bought a boat, and I'm going to be sailing in the Florida Keys and the Bahamas. So that's my life. So I got things to talk about. So I'm excited about it. So thank you so very much. You all have a very beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great dinner.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.